Here we are, real, raw, and honest. And today it's going to get real, raw, and honest. Today, my topic is going to be grief. We're talking about and doing a month of the things that make the Christmas holiday difficult. And last week we talked about difficult family members and how that can impact our holiday and our desire to want to celebrate and to get together and, go home for Christmas or whatever it is. We've talked about that last week. And so if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go back. I give you some ideas on how to put some boundaries around the difficult people in your life so that you can, make the holiday season the best that it can be. And today I'm going to talk about grief. And, grief is something that if there's anything that's going to suck the joy out of your Christmas holiday, it's going to be grieving the loss of a loved one. And I understand that all too well. My first husband passed away in September, and so very shortly thereafter, it was time to start looking at buying presents. It was time to start, the Christmas decorations started coming out almost immediately after, it seemed, after he had passed away. And so, you're faced with the joy of the people around you, and there's usually this sense of hope and life, and I didn't have any of that. It was like I just wanted to skip past it and get to March, if I could just get to March, right? And and I think I say that because there's January, but our anniversary was in January. So you've got Christmas, and then there's our anniversary, and then there's Valentine's Day, and then it's like if we could just skip past all of this and get to a place where the month means nothing to me, maybe that will be helpful. And but Christmas, like the first Christmas was difficult. Like I said, there was no hope, there was no desire to do anything. I didn't put up any. I think maybe, I don't even really remember if my oldest son and his wife came and maybe did put up some decorations. I don't actually remember that. What I do remember is I didn't care whether they were up or they weren't. I didn't care if I bought gifts or I didn't, and I don't actually know what I did in any of that at this point in time. I can't remember. It was such a blur, and the pain was so real. But there is this expectation from so many people that you are going to be able to join in the festivities, and you might join in the festivities, but it's going to be hard. And so I'm going to speak first of all to those of you who are going through grief. And then I want to talk to those of you who are supporting or maybe in the family of the one that is grieving. So, for the person that is going through the grief, it doesn't matter who you've lost, whether it's your spouse, a parent, a child, a good friend. It doesn't really matter. Grief is going to suck the life out of this season for you. And you know what? I want you to know that it's perfectly okay that you feel the way that you do. Don't let other people make you feel guilty that you aren't able to join in, that you aren't able to, want to go to the parties and have the lights up and all of that. It's okay that you don't want to cook the turkey dinner. It's okay that you don't want to attend the dinner. It's all right. It's okay. But I would say this, I would really encourage you not to allow yourself to stay home alone too much either during this season, because that can add to the pressure and the grief that you're going through. You can just feel it just that much more keenly, especially on Christmas Day, during the actual, Christmas Eve, Boxing Day, Christmas Day, during that period of time. And then on the heels of that, you've got New Year's. And frankly, if you're grieving, there's nothing happy about the New Year either. Happy New Year is not Happy New Year. And so you have to work through your grief process as you go through the holiday. And I would suggest that you go see a grief counselor if you can, either before or shortly after Christmas, because it will make a difference. I was able to do that before the holiday season, and I'll tell you, it just made a huge difference. It gave me some things to look at and some things to do before the holiday arrived that would better prepare me for the emotional upheaval that I would feel and just the dragging of the holidays. And, some of the things that he suggested for me was that I include him in the first Christmas, right? And so, well, obviously he wasn't here, but what I could do is I could put up his picture, and I could do these things. And so, I did do all of those things, right, in my house, but I also decided that it would be best for me if I didn't celebrate Christmas in my own home. So we decided that we were going to, as a family, we were going to go out to Vancouver and spend time with my youngest son, which is what we did. And we did Christmas dinner at up there. Uh, and I made the turkey and I did all that, but my daughter-in-law helped me. And it was just, it helped a lot just to be walking down a strange street. It still felt heavy. It still felt like I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to participate. And, all of those things were very real. And you feel it so keenly because of all the things that are going on around you. So grief is very real, and it is very difficult the very first Christmas. But I want to say this, and especially to those of you who are grieving, but those of you who are supporting, I want you to hear me on this too. I want you to know it isn't just the first Christmas. It isn't just the first birthday. It isn't just the first, holiday away. It's every first. It's the first load of laundry that you do when it's just your clothes or when their clothes are not in the pile. It's the first time you go shopping and you don't pick up the things you would normally pick up for them. It's the first time you go out and you don't purchase their favorite treat. It's the first time that you eat by yourself, and when you're done the dishes, or you're done eating and you put the dishes in the sink, there's one plate and one fork and one knife and one spoon and one cup, right? At one plate, there's just the one. And so it's all of these things. You notice all of those things very, 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 very keenly. And so I want to say, give yourself the time to process what's happening around you. Give yourself the time to take a look at the fact that you miss this person at this season, that their being there would have changed a lot, that their being there would have, brought the season, the usual things that they brought to the season, their joy, their hope, their laughter, their, even the things that they did, like the decorating of the house and putting out the ornaments on the front lawn or whatever it is. Like, actually allow yourself to miss them and to cry and to grieve their loss, right? Like, it's okay to do that. And then don't put pressure on yourself to go to all of the things. Don't put the pressure on yourself to attend the Christmas concerts and the Christmas parties and, all of those things, all of the festivities, all of the things that you've done together as as a unit, or, where their presence was included. Give yourself an out and know that you don't actually have to participate. It's okay for you to sit it out. It's all right. But give yourself the right to grieve every loss, not just Christmas, but all of the things you miss every day. And so for those of you that are supporting the loved one or your friend who's had loss, I really want to encourage you to invite them out and know that they might be able to do it or they might not. They might be able to have a good time and they might not. They might end up in a puddle of tears and have to go home, and that's okay too. Just give them the opportunity to be able to be themselves and to be able to handle whatever it is that's coming their way. Let them handle their grief, and don't put an expectation on them to put it aside one time or to be able to not be bothered by it, because they are bothered by it. They're feeling their loss, and that's okay, right? So how do you support them? You invite them. That's one thing that you can do, but don't put pressure on them and don't make them feel guilty if they can't make it or if they come and then they just can't do the party. Give them the right and the ability to come and to leave if they have to before the party's over. Give them time, give them space, and let them talk, right? Let them process the event as they're going through it. Invite them to anything that you're going through. So if you're going to go to a craft shop, which are plenteous at this time of year, or going to a craft sale, invite them if they want to go. And they have those for men and women, right? So invite them. If there's a Christmas party, invite them, but don't put the pressure on them. And don't put pressure on them to spend money, to buy gifts, to decorate and do all of that. And don't do it for them if they don't want it done. The reality is you might want to you might even think that it's going to help if you decorate their house or if you put up their tree, but it actually might not. So ask them what they want and see where they're at, and then give them options and say, give them time to consider it as well. Give them space. So say, I'm willing to come and help you put up your decorations if that's what you'd like. I'm gonna let you think about it. I'll be around next week. So, if you want to, we could do it on such and such a day. Give them the opportunity to consider whether it's something that they really want. And if they do have family that they need to buy gifts for, like, small children or, grandchildren, or maybe they need to buy a gift for, a work party and they just don't have the ability in them to do it, then, offer to do it for them. Ask some questions and say, I can go out and I can do that. You can come with me, but let me help you with that, right? Because it can just be burdensome. But again, they might not want you to do any of those things. They might really want to do it themselves. And so it's just giving them the space to walk through the time as they're going through it. And so, that's year one. I think, year one definitely holds its own challenges for sure. But I'm going to say year two of walking through grief during Christmas was, it was not as hard, but it was still really difficult. It was still, a giant that needed to be slain, because this wasn't the first Christmas I was doing without him. It was my second. Like, this thing was going to go on year after year after year. And I don't think that the person who's grieving actually realizes that in the first year. I think it's the second one, or at least it was for me, is that I realized, wow, this is the second Christmas. Then there's going to be a third Christmas. And there's going to be a fourth Christmas, and this is going to be it. This is the rest of my life, right? And so there's this realization in the second time you do these things when you're in grief that this is going to be a continual process. And so the second year also can be very difficult. I stayed home the second year, but I didn't want to decorate, and I still didn't want to buy the gifts. I did buy the gifts, but I went out and I bought gifts for the grandchildren. I don't think I bought gifts for anybody else. And I came home and I cried. And so it's okay. Again, it's okay. Grief is a process. It's not something that is finished in 60 days or 90 days. And some people want it to be done at the end of 3 months. It's not done at the end of 3 months. And it's not even done at the end of 6 months. It takes however long it takes. But do the work so that you don't stay stuck in it. But so in the second year, sure, continue. Those of you who are supporting your friend, invite them to the events. They're probably more likely to come in the second year than they were in the first. But they just might not be as happy as they used to be. And that's okay. They're going to get there, but it's going to take time. So I guess what I'm saying is, for those people that are going through grief, remove the expectations from yourself from doing the things you've always done. Let somebody else cook the turkey. Let somebody else do the work. Let somebody else, help you with the things that you need to do. And for those that are supporting, take the expectation off those that are grieving. Take the expectation and know this. On Christmas Day, on the time you get together for your meal, whether it's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or whatever day you get together for it, it just might be they might be a downer. They might not be able to enjoy. They might just sit there. And I remember when my dad, the first year that my mom had passed away, we invited him out, and we met at my brother's house, and he just sat there in the chair and he just stared out the window. He couldn't, and he was always the one who was teasing the grandkids and chasing them around the house and beating them with we would, keep the wrapper, the cardboard wrapper tubes, right? And then he would bonk the kids, and he was always just so much fun, and the grandkids wanted to engage, but he just couldn't. And he just sat there and he stared out the window, and that's okay too, right? It's okay. It was a tough year. It was the first year without my mom. And so they'd been married, almost 50 years. So you got to give them that opportunity to be where they're at, right? And so, these are the things, right, that make Christmas difficult when you're grieving. So be encouraged, though, that it doesn't last forever, and it does tend to get a little bit easier as the years go by. But you know what? You're going to be 5 years out, and Christmas is going to come, or their birthday is going to come, and you're still going to think about that person. And each year you're going to look at your family, and you're going to think about how much they would have loved to see everybody grow, the kids grow, and you know that whether they enjoyed the season or not, you're still going to poke fun at the things that they would do. Know that that's normal. So grief is a difficult thing to endure during the holidays, but you know, don't leave those people behind, and don't put expectations on them that they cannot fulfill. And so just allowing them to be sad is maybe the best gift that you can give them. But allow them the opportunity to play the game and to, you know, do the caroling, and but let them make their decisions, and as they make their decisions, honor them. Honor their decisions. Honor what it is that they want to do or don't want to do. Let them just go through the season and go through the meal or go through the family get together. However it is, they're going to go through the family get together, and support them, love them, be there for them, and, you know, assist them in any way that you can. And that does mean, you know what, Christmas is hard because it's supposed to be a fun time of year. It's supposed to be filled with love and laughter and joy and peace and giving. And those are the last things that people who are grieving want to participate in. They don't want to do those things. They don't. And so, I think that's really all I wanted to say about grief. Be supportive of your grieving friends. Be supportive of yourself if you're going through it. Do what you need to do. Be helpful and not harmful. I had a lot of people when I was grieving, especially during the first Christmas. Well, don't I want to be happy? Don't I want to, do nice things for the first grandchild? Well, of course I did. Of course I did. But and I'm not saying that during grief you don't ever do things you don't want to do. I'm not saying that at all. It's just, and I recognize I was very young. I was young when I became a widow, and so it was difficult for the people around me because they hadn't experienced the loss that I experienced, and most of them had not experienced loss at all. And so there was not really an understanding, nothing to be able to anchor their boat to in my process. And so they were just looking at it and going, you just have to get over this. I'm like, it's like literally 3 months. Can you give me some space? I'm gonna eventually get through this. I'm doing the work. I went to the workshops. I went to see a grief counselor. I bought books. I read the books. I did the homework. I did the things I needed to do. But it's still a process because your heart is broken and there's a person that's been removed from your life. And so I just want to encourage you today, for those who are grieving, you can do this, but do it at your own pace. Do what you can and don't allow other people to put expectations on you. And for those of you who are family and those who are supporting the grieving one, let them walk through the process. However they're going to walk through the process. It's going to be messy. The first year is going to be messy. The second year is going to be difficult. It's not going to be as messy as the first one, but it will still be difficult. And after that, you're going to see progress. And so I just want to encourage you with this as we go through the holidays. You're not alone. Jesus walks with you, and there's going to be good friends that you're going to find in this season. Those that you didn't know that you would even become friends with, and those that you thought were really good friends that you found out they don't know what to do with you. And so in the process of your grief, there's a separation of relationship, and there's that just adds more. But you know what, you're going to make it through, and you're going to be fine. So in the end, you're going to be fine. You might not be fine this year, but in the end, you're going to be fine. So be encouraged. Grief is hard, but God is good, and He's got you even in the midst of your mess. So that's all I wanted to share today about grief. So I hope that you're encouraged by this word today. And I say, be blessed. Next week, we're going to have a guest on, and she's going to tell her story about a very difficult time that she had over Christmas. And I think you're going to really find some encouragement from her story. And if you don't find encouragement, if you're not going through a difficult time, I think that what you'll find is you're going to find that you have a lot to be thankful for. So join me on the 20th for a testimony that will change your perspective. So be blessed in Jesus' name.